sit back with this pack of zigzags and this bag of this weed. It gives me the shit needed to be the most meanest MC on this earth. And since birth I've been cursed with this curse to just curse and just blurt this berserk and bizarre shit that works and it sells and it helps.
Think. Chapter 7.
The power of the underdog. I want you to understand something, that don't get discouraged because you might be at the bottom, because you don't have money, that you won't make it. Please believe that WCW had WWF in a chokehold in that Monday Night War with Monday Night Nitro versus Monday Night Raw. You know what I'm saying? People forget that WCW was a small company. They came out of nowhere, created the NWO amongst other stuff. They found their leverage. They had Vince McMahon in a strong chokehold at one point. But Vince McMahon came back and bought them out in the whole 9 yards. Then look at even Puff. Puff was Suge Knight.
Any artists out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star, don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the videos, all on the record, dancing. Come to Death Row.
I feel like at the time, Death Row was at the bottom because they wasn't known until 92, 93. He came in the game, surpassed Puff, but then once again, in that scenario too, who's left still standing? Shout out to Puff. Even looking like Double XL. Double XL magazine versus The Source. Back in the day, Elliot Wilson, who now runs RapRadar.com and Crown and all those great things, Elliot Wilson was a person that, from what I understand, worked at The Source. He didn't like the politics of The Source and how they was giving out mics. You know, they were basically, for political reasons giving out mics. And he created Double XL out of spite, just to destroy The Source. At that time, Double XL was a small company, but they came up. They surpassed The Source. At that time, selling more magazines back then. This goes back to emotions and like where you at mentally, and it's where you at that moment. What are you fighting for? Because don't forget, Mike Tyson got knocked out by Buster Douglas, and the main reason Mike Tyson got knocked the fuck out is because Buster Douglas at that moment just found out his mother died. In that moment, do you know what that will make a nigga do? I got to win. My mama watching, and he fucked that nigga up to me. That gave him so much energy that no matter how good Mike Tyson is, Mike Tyson's comfortable. He's good. He's rich. I'm doing my thing, nigga. I'm champion of the world. Fucking these bitches. And Buster, who has nothing, he is a buster. I just lost my mother. Somebody dying tonight. Yo, that shit is real, man. That's how I view when Mike Tyson lost. Because I remember back in 91, that was a devastating moment for a lot of people. And niggas was so hurt when Mike Tyson got knocked out. But if there's anything I learned about life is that the winners are people that have something to prove. You want to be in that position. So once again, going back to the earlier chapters, is what's motivating you to do what you want to do. You got to really think about it. I want you to understand the power of the underdog. Own your flaws, man, because a person that owns their flaws is more powerful than a person that owns their perfections. Eminem in 8 Mile was the greatest example of that.
What do you want to do? Heads or tails?
Heads.
Heads. Okay. Who goes first?
Let that bitch go first.
Whoa. I can't believe my ears. A lot of hostility. Pumping a lot of anger. All right. Hey, check this out. We got new rules. Being that's championship round. Each of these cats, they get a minute and a half apiece. I don't know what's gonna happen. You ready? You know what to do? DJ, kick that shit.
get jumped by all 6 of you chumps. And we did fuck my girl. I'm still standing here screaming fuck the free world. Don't never try to judge me, dude. You don't know what the fuck I've been through. But I know something about you. You went to Cranbrook, that's a private school. What's the matter, dog? You embarrassed? This guy's a gangster. His real name is Clarence. And Clarence lives at home with both parents. And Clarence's parents have a real good marriage. This guy don't want to battle. He's shook, cause ain't no such things as halfway crooks. He's scared to death, he's scared to look at his fucking yearbook. Fuck Cranbrook. Fuck a beat, I go a cappella. Fuck a Papa Doc, fuck a clock, fuck a trailer, fuck everybody. Fuck y'all if you doubt me. I'm a piece of fucking white trash, I say it proudly. And fuck this battle, I don't want to win, I'm outie. Here, tell these people something they don't know about me.
Once you own your flaws, can't nobody beat you. You know, even like Dr. Dre leaving Death Row. People keep forgetting that, yo, he left everything. Yo, Shook, have it all. I don't care, I'm out. Dr. Dre came out with that next album on Aftermath. That album did nothing. Nobody believed in him. Tupac dead, Snoop not messing with him, Snoop with No Limit, and Dr. Dre by himself. I've been there, done that. You got jumped, I got strapped. Nobody cared about that. Who would have thought Dr. Dre would be a billionaire today? He had his ups and downs too. He was an underdog at one point. And Dr. Dre, man, I'm so proud of that motherfucker, man. It's not even funny. So I want you to understand being a power of the underdog is real. And don't ever sleep on yourself. Before you don't ever let others sleep on you. Don't sleep on yourself. Understand that the difference between the rich and the poor is the rich know the value in their name and the poor know the value in their work. Now time for some business negotiations from the Wiz of the Biz.
Business negotiations. Negotiations in business can be like a game of chess. For those who have never played, chess is a game of strategy and positioning your pieces on the board. When I was a new business owner, I had a terrible habit of waiting to negotiate price until after the job was already done. Part of this was because I had a fear of losing business, and the other part of this came about because I had no idea how to price my services. As I stated in an earlier episode, I just started my first business on a whim, without any prior research or due diligence. I thought just knowing how to do the job was all I needed to run a successful business. Due to my inability to negotiate, I spent so many sleepless nights up re-editing and putting touch-ups on a film project that far exceeded the scope of the client's budget. But due to my inability to negotiate early and accurately, I put myself in a bind that forced me to fulfill obligations that were ambitious at best. If you don't value your time, why would you expect anyone else to? Billing a client for 7 hours of work only for them to go over by 5 hours and you not charge them is doing both the client and yourself a disservice. Once you begin down this path, it's hard to turn back because next time the client may think, well, I got 5 free hours out of him or her last time. I'll just book him for 2 hours this time and get 7 hours of work for the price of 2. See, now you've got the customer expecting you to work for free. Your time is valuable and you must conduct yourself as such. It wasn't until much later in business that I learned to effectively negotiate deals. I had to know my standard rates for services and how much I could discount those rates when appropriate and still earn enough to keep my business thriving. To determine those rates, I researched other competitors in my area, compared their work to mine, and created prices based on how my work matched up to what the norm was. Fortunately enough for me, many of my competitors at the time were and still are producing substandard work with a lack of professionalism to boot. The way I set myself aside from the pack was with above average work, a professional demeanor, following up with clients, and actually having clients sign contracts upon entering into agreements. These simple techniques helped me set the bar for the way business should be handled and gave me an upper hand in my negotiations. Over the years, I've learned that not all business is good business and not all clients are good clients. I had to get into my mind that in negotiations and in meetings, not only was a client interviewing me, but I was also interviewing them. Just like they had the right to choose another company to fulfill their needs, I had the right to decline their project. You might ask yourself, what reason could you come up with that you would turn away business? Well, there are 3 reasons that come to mind right away. 1, the main reason I usually have to turn away business is because the client has unrealistic expectations. A good friend of mine, J. Martinez, and I were discussing business one day a few years ago, and he drew this business diagram for me. It's a simple diagram. All it is a triangle. He said clients normally want three things when they come to us for our work. They want high quality, they want it done fast, and they want it done cheap. Then he said it's our job to tell the client that they can't realistically have all three. For example, you can get a high quality product and you can get it fast, but it won't be cheap. Or you can get it fast and cheap, but it won't be of the best quality. Or you can even opt to get it high quality and cheap, but it won't come fast. So it's our job to get the customer to decide what two options are most important to them. The number two reason one might turn away business is because the project doesn't line up with your company's direction. Paying clients are great, but sometimes it's not about the money. Once you have a clear and concise model of your business and where you want to take your business, you'll find that sometimes opportunities arise that can sidetrack you and your company on your way to greatness. Case in point, I know a guy that has a car custom auto body shop. When he was starting out, his goal was to only deal with exotic cars like Lamborghinis, Bentleys, Ferraris, Bugattis, etc. In the beginning, he would get some guys that would bring their cars in to get serviced, like Hondas, Toyotas, Audis, Lincolns, and for a while he accepted the business. But after a while, he realized that the headache and time it took to deal with these cars and their owners was detracting from the time he could be spending on the automobiles he originally opened up the shop to service. True, exotic car owners came with their own unique set of headaches as well, but at least he'd be working on the cars he set out to work on. As he began to turn away the business of the standard car owners, he saw the turnaround time on the exotic cars increased, and his exotic car intake grew steadily to a point where he was forced to expand his business. This is the perfect example of a time when turning away business is necessary to realign yourself with the real direction you have for your company. A third reason you may decide to turn away business is that a client may just be too difficult to work with. Outrageous demands, unreal expectations, or they may just require an excessive amount of hand-holding to the point that it impacts your ability to efficiently perform your job. One thing you should always keep in mind when going into negotiations is the minimum you'll take to complete a project. After you've got this in mind, never renege on it. It's rare that you'll get a client to agree to your initial quote, so be prepared to negotiate terms and/or price. A rule of thumb in sales is to never start with your lowest priced option. It's harder to upsell than it is to downsell. This is another instance of the psychology of business or sales. Once an expectation of price is set in the client's mind, that will be seen as the norm. Start with the price of your basic package of, say, $500. Then when you try to upsell the client to a premium package that includes additional services for maybe $750, the client's mind is like, whoa, hold on, I'm good with the $500 package. Whereas if you had started with a higher option and given the client the option of turning it down before introducing your lower price option and letting them know that these features are not included in this particular package, your odds of closing a bigger deal will be quantified. Make a trip to your local car lot or electronics store or anywhere else employees are paid on commission to see this principle in action. And that brings us to our final tip. Don't be scared to walk away. If the working relationship isn't a win-win for both parties involved, it could be a better option for you to just get out before it's too late. All business is not good business. If the budget is too small, if you already have too much on your plate, or if some of the expectations the client has are just not realistic, do not be afraid to part ways. It's better to be honest and upfront about what you can deliver than to promise something you can't. A good rule that's always worked for me is to underpromise and overdeliver. We've all picked up the phone to order a pizza and they tell you that the pizza won't be there for 45 minutes to an hour. Initially, we're like, wow, that's a long time, but I suppose we can wait for it to get here. So we place the order over the phone, only to have the delivery guy show up in 30 or sometimes 20 minutes. Our initial reaction is, wow, that was fast, and we're delighted that the food is here. And we're more inclined to order from pizza place XYZ because they delivered way ahead of schedule. On the other hand, what if when we called, we were told the pizza would be there in 10 minutes, but didn't actually show up for 30 minutes? We would be infuriated. Why is that? It's the psychology of business. If you promise something and don't deliver, the client will forever remember you as the company that couldn't hold up their end of the bargain. On the other hand, estimate worst case scenario timeframes for clients, and if you can deliver in best case scenario times or anything under the initial estimate, you will be hailed as a god amongst men. But if a client holds your feet to the fire about something you know you'll be unable to fulfill, walk away. Let's recap for business negotiations. 1, negotiate price early. 2, know your rates. 3, interview your clients. 4, beware of clients with unrealistic expectations, projects that don't line up with your company's direction, and clients that are just too difficult to deal with. 5, know the minimum you're willing to accept for your services. 6, underpromise and overdeliver. And finally, don't be scared to walk away.
Have an exit strategy. I just learned that last year. You want to have an exit strategy with everything you do. Because, especially in Hollywood, Hollywood spits everybody out. This shit ain't gonna last forever. One day you're gonna be old and you ain't gonna be able to wipe your ass, man. You know, I met my grandfather the other day, 96 years old, and as I saw him, I was like, damn, one day this gonna be me. And he said to me, which is crazy, he was like, you know, when you get this old, you're gonna have nothing to do but reflect. And you wanna hope that the life you made, you didn't hurt nobody in the process. Because it's gonna hit you hard in moments like this where you have nothing else to do but reflect. So be young, go out there, have fun, but have an exit strategy, because, you know, we're all going to get to that stage of being old. And I don't think we think about that. You know, I think we live so much in our 20s and our 30s and we think we know it all. We still babies, yo. We still babies compared to an 80-year-old. Fucking a child, man. My mind is still fragile because it's still learning. You know, you want to have an exit strategy. And another reason I say this is because, like, Love and Hip Hop, I don't like that show. And I look at, like, Peter Guns, all those people that are on Love and Hip Hop, how they're getting paid to disrespect themselves now because they have no choice. Because they came in the industry, but they didn't set up for when this shit slows down. And even Allen Iverson, he lost his house right now. He's, like, doing bad. But, yo, years ago, he was $1 million in.
Hey yo, part 2, AI and J Kiss presenting the A6 from the wrist. Could tell us a straight switch. Now I'm the problem, and he's the answer. Soon as you try to guard up, you ain't got a chance to stop it. Any given time, he could pop it. The Reebok A6 is hot, go cop it.
For 2K3, I rock the A6, my new kicks. Take a few hits, it ain't nothing, I'm used to it. Trying to build a team, I'm the player you need. Hard like Willis Reed, top thief and score in the league.
There's no way to disguise your dream. Besides family, the only thing on his mind now is a ring. He got love for the game. His start was huge, and you seen him play hurt cause his heart is huge. 6 feet, 165, call ISO. Anytime he wanted, split your 5. Play to win, he don't play for stats. Brought the hood to the game, and they love him for the braids and tats. Yeah, track masters, AI and J Kiss. Make sure you go out and get a pair of the A6.
Part 2, AI and J Kiss presenting the A6. It's all fundamental and basics. Part 2, AI and J Kiss presenting the A6. It's all fundamental and basics.
Can't get lost in the sauce. Mike Tyson had $400 million in his short career as a champion. If he could lose $400 million, what makes you think you won't lose 10 or 20 or a mil? Don't get lost in it, man. This shit is real. Even like Ted Turner. Ted Turner created CNN. He created TNT. He created TBS. Ted Turner lost everything in a contract. When he merged with AOL and Time Warner, they had a contract, and they, as a committee, got together and said, get rid of him. Just like Steve Jobs with Apple. Get rid of him. We don't want him. And it's easy to get rid of you, even if you own the company. That's what people don't understand. And that's why WCW ain't here no more. Because they got rid of him, then they looked at all his assets and said, let's keep TNT, let's keep CNN. What else do we keep? This going back to preying on people. WCW, we don't like that. Get rid of it. Who would want to buy it? Vince McMahon, you know, he's a wrestling buff. All right, let's sell it to him for $5 million. WCW at that time was worth well more than $5 million. Every wrestler that found out what he paid for it said, I could have paid for it, that's myself. And he destroyed that company after that. Have an exit strategy. And the one thing I want you to YouTube is 30 for 30. ESPN's broke. And you will see great stories of people who had it all and lost it all. And that's the reality of fame. And that's the reality of success. It does come with problems. At the end of the day, being poor comes with problems. Money comes with problems. It's what you're willing to deal with. But understand with fame and success is when you get problems, you get a lot of fakeness. And if you don't like fakeness now, I don't know what the fuck make you think you're going to like fakeness when you make it. There's a reason Dave Chappelle gave back that $50 million, yo, because he understood what that comes with. That's a huge price. And he actually played skits on it when he was getting his hair cut in the barbershop. And the guy was like, $800. $800 for a baldy? Like, nigga, you rich now. Yo, it's not like that. Like, you can't start paying for candy, $1,000 for a candy bar because you got $50 million in the bank. It's just retarded. Like, the more money you make, the more money you're likely to lose it because it's hard to manage all that money because you got people on payroll, you got kids, you got shit, man. So have an exit strategy. It's very important. Please. I want you to ask questions to yourself. I want you to ask yourself, what do you want? You need to know what you want in detail. What does success look like to you? Write the cars down in a watch or whatever else you want. You want to get married. But what else? What do you want to mean to culture? What do you want your name to mean to people? Because Michael Jordan is the definition of the NBA. Nintendo is the definition of video games. Kleenex or Scott Tissue is the definition of cleaning your ass, man. Whatever you want, just know what you want in detail. But I would say, what do you want to mean to people is important. Whatever the end goal is, reverse backwards. So once you find out what your success is, say, okay, now that I see that that's what it takes, how do I get there by reversing backwards? You need this, you need this, you need that. What are the things you can do for yourself to help yourself learn, to help yourself grow? You need to know your SWOT. And your SWOT is your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You need to know all that about yourself. So let's say, like I said with New Era, their strength is the licensing deals to baseball teams. That's a strength, right? Weakness is like what Ariel is to the TV industry. The TV industry don't have that leverage that Ariel has. Opportunities, write down things that are in your community, that are in your area that you could make money from, that you could prosper from, that you could better yourself from. Whether it's books, all opportunities. You got SoundCloud, you got Twitter, you got Facebook. What's the opportunities you have to make what you need to make get done? There's a lot. Figure it out, okay? You understand something, that your life is like a movie. And everybody in your phone is playing a role in your life. So you need to write them down. You need to go through everybody in your phone and say, okay, what is this person doing for me? Am I better than them or are they better than me? What is it? Let's help each other better each other, because that's what life's about. Leaving this earth better than how you found it. Leaving people better than how you found them. So that way, even if you fall apart, you can't say, I didn't get so much knowledge from them. Like Wu Tang with RZA. No matter how they feel about RZA, they all say the same thing. I can't act like RZA ain't make me a millionaire. I can't act like he didn't help me. He did. He just helped himself more. And there's nothing wrong with that. Ice Cube with NWA, he did the same thing. He left the group because he's like, I'm trying to help myself. And that situation ain't going to help you. It's only going to destroy you. Know the roles people play in your life. And I think whatever age you are, write down the lessons you've learned about your life. Each year, each age, what lesson did you get from it? I mean, of course, you can't remember 1 and 2, but maybe from whatever, first grade on. And start learning more about yourself, because I think people really don't know who they are. They don't know what makes them horny. They know, like, maybe milk makes you lactose intolerant, but they don't know more details about themselves. And that's very important, because you're borrowing your body. You do not own that body. You can't control that body has allergies to stuff. You can't control that body might not like corn, or might not like pork, or might not like chicken. You can't control that. That your body is borrowed. The only thing you own is your soul, and you want your soul to mean everything. So, which boils down to your name and reputation. Bottom line is, I love you guys. I respect you. I want our culture to grow. I want you to understand that everything is how you see it. We are all defined by the stories we tell ourselves. What story are you really telling yourself? We all got insecurities. I'm not saying you shouldn't have any. I'm not saying you're not going to make mistakes. I've had 2 abortions. Those 2 things I regret doing. But it's a part of life. We have to, like Jay-Z said in Reasonable Doubt, in order to survive, gotta learn to live with regrets.
A lot of my success happens because I was born with it. I also think that people underestimate how insanely obvious it is for some people and how murky it is for others. What I mean by that is, it's always been obvious to me. It's always been obvious what caused success, what I needed to do. Every time I watch content through the internet or on television, I watched Oprah the other night. Lizzie was watching it, I was working. She was interviewing George Lucas, and he was saying the same shit I always say, same shit I hear from everybody who wins. You know, I think the fear of losing trumps the excitement of victory for so many people. I think people are so scared. You know, it's kind of like hitting on girls. You know, I get it, right? Because I kind of was more scared of hitting on girls than I was in winning in business. I was much more fearless in executing business models than I was about going up to a girl and getting shot down. Nobody wants the rejection. Nobody wants to lose. So I understand the philosophy. I understand that string of DNA that doesn't want to make you lose. But I'm so desperate to figure out how to convince people that there is no loss in going for it. That, yeah, you might get made fun of and you might have it in your own mind, but trying to figure out how to make people drop that fear of going and building a business for themselves in 2012. Trying to figure out how to make a video or give a talk or send a tweet or write a book. Just something that makes people understand that executing the way it always is, following the school business model, which is such horseshit, is going to lead you to a place where you're not going to win. Or that is a place where you're going to win. Meaning, some people are meant to be B and C players. Some of you are not meant to, you know, go out and win. You know, I think this whole, like, if you try, it will come to you, is such horseshit. I'm worried that people are confused that, you know, effort or the secret or hustle is enough, because it's not. It's part of the equation. But talent and skills and the ability to work hard and having thick skin. Do you know how obnoxiously thick my skin is when it comes to business? I don't give a fuck what anybody says about me or thinks of me or thinks what I'm doing when it comes to business, because I trust my intuition 1,000,000,000%. I know that I'm built to win when it comes to business. I always win. I'm gonna win. And people that don't understand my style or don't think that I'm doing the right thing or think that VaynerMedia is a dumb idea because it's, you know, it's client services, they just don't know me. They don't understand what I'm going to do. They don't understand that it's early. People just don't understand how early it is. I'm 36. I'm a kid. You know, shit. Would I want to be 25 like AJ? Fuck yeah. But I'm 36. In 6 years, I'll be 42. Do you know how much I'm going to do in the next 6 years? I just worry that people don't have patience. I worry that people don't tap into their strengths. My strength is that I tell stories. My strength is that I understand people. My strength is that I understand how to build organizations to succeed. My strength is that I understand that people is what the foundation of any business is. My strength is that I give a crap. Yeah, I care about myself more, but I actually care about you as well. My strength is that I'm a communicator, that I'm a showman, that I know how to brand, that I'm willing to work ridiculously hard, that I have intuition on where things are going, that I work tirelessly to listen to people that I think know where things are going, that I engage, that I genuinely care, that I'm willing to sit here right now and make this video hoping that one fucker says, oh shit, yeah, like fuck it, fuck mom, fuck Professor Tom, fuck what the intuition of other people is. I'm going to listen to mine, the establishment, the blueprint. Fuck all that. I'm just going to listen to myself. Listen to yourself always wins. Do I have angst? Sure. I'm calling out myself every day for the last 6 or 7 years, telling everybody I'm going to buy the Jets. I got to roll Billy's deep. 36, getting older. Worrying about, like, the time. But still betting on patience. Betting on I've been right. Betting that I get better every year. Betting that the 2006 version of me that was so cocky, that rolled with massive bravado, is a punk compared to the 2012 version of me. Because that's the truth. You keep getting better. I'm betting on that I continue to listen, continue to stay humble while still being obnoxiously confident. I'm betting that the world's changing and I'm paying attention, understanding that you got to play that Moneyball game, which means data's the game, but putting EQ on top of that matters. Betting that all the good that I'm trying to give everybody comes back to me. That somebody that I affected opens a door for me. Betting that the people I'm networking with now on a daily basis from 9 p.m. to 2 in the morning open up doors, open up opportunities, open up my mind. Betting that the work I put in operationally on VaynerMedia is going to pay dividends. Is it sexy? No. Am I turning down things like TV? Yes. Am I less famous? A little more quiet? A little more off the grid? Absolutely. Am I happy that I'm executed and that I'm making shit happen and I'm building a business? 1,000,000,000%. Betting on a lot of things, my friends. Betting on a lot of things. But most of all, betting on my community. Community is the last great asset. When you play all these chess moves out, it's going to be the only thing left. The people that give a shit about you and the people that you give a shit about. And they're going to open up the opportunities, the doors, the business opportunities, the life opportunities. And I'll always bet on that. I believe in that till the end. And so I sit here and give this 7-minute, 37-second rant to you because I think real and authentic and honest matters. I think I'm good enough to win. And I think you're good enough to win at your level. Am I going to win at the ultimate biggest guy of all time? Gates, Zucks, Buffett? Probably not. Am I more charismatic and loving and more interesting than those characters? I think so. Do I have enough to get me to a Billy? I think so. But is that 40 billion? No. Are you good enough to get to 100,000? 400,000? I think so. Just sat here and read 100 emails from people that were making 40, 50K, 30K, read Crush It, read Thank You Economy, got inspired by me. But I was a spark. I was the one that had that insane thing that I have in me that made them say, You know, things that make you go, 80s reference, sorry. But then they had it in them. And so when I make this video, what's coming from my heart right now is, maybe you're watching this and saying, maybe I need to hedge. You know, if you work from 8 p.m. to 4 in the morning, will your dreams come true? No. You might not be good enough. You might have not picked the right product. But are we living in a world in 2012 that's so much better than your parents and grandparents and great-grandparents' generation because assholes like me can make videos when I'm 30,000 fucking feet in the air? Yes. And because of that, and because of those opportunities, and because we're networked in a way we've never seen before, and because sending an email to 100 people and one will answer and give you a shot matters, because of that opportunity, because of 2012, I beg you to take a shot. Roll up on that hot chick in a bar and ask her out. Roll up on that good-looking dude and ask him for coffee. Roll up on your business idea and make it happen. Because being 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and having regrets that you didn't swing the bat is the worst of them all. Our at-bat is in front of us. Take a swing.
I didn't write my raps down for my first 4 albums. Like I just did it from the head straight to the booth. But on this last album, on My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, I wrote it because I really put myself in a zone that I felt like my life was dependent on the success of this album. You know, and with that being the case, I said, you know what? No matter what anybody says about me, they won't. I can write something that can make someone that hates me the most have to really respect or love the song.
I think that, you know, pop culture tries to force feed a dumbed down version of everything, and people try to act like the fans are dumb, and people are really not as basic as the media tries to make them out to be. You know, and no one's that basic. Even like in the classification of me as like an enemy or an ass or whatever people say, it's not that basic because obviously I have to have some good in me too. It's just to be able to do the music. They create these characters and you're not even like a real person or have any dynamics. It's just like basically an enemy. And it's just really stupid and harsh. But the only thing about the media and all that is like I have the internet and I have my music and my voice is going to be louder and I'm going to win. I'm going to prevail. The right is going to prevail. The honesty, the truth, the creativity, and the person I am. A good person with good intentions with everything I do. If you really look at it, it's still good intentions, maybe bad timing, blah, blah, blah. But regardless, good intentions, and it's going to prevail. Just like this film, just the opportunity I have to show the world crashing cultures of like ballerina meets hip hop. Like it's the good is gonna rise.
I remember one day being in a meeting with Rashid Young, working with Russell Simmons. We was on Madison Avenue, and this white man, wealthy white man, told me, you need to think like a drug dealer, and you'll become a lot more successful in life. I asked him what he meant by that, and he said, a drug dealer has to make a product so hot, so good, that it sells itself. Word of mouth makes it spread like wildfire. Nobody can know who he is. Those are like one of the strongest CEOs in the game. You think about like Dove soap. Do you know who the CEO of Dove soap is? Or Fiji water, Crunch, chocolate bar. First lesson here is to think like a drug dealer. Social media is like that. You got to build fame on your name. That's why drug dealers give turkeys and money away, because they want to build currency on their name. We call it social currency. Robert Greene with the 48 Powers of Law. A lot of people do not know who he is, but he wrote many books outside of the 48 Powers of Law. He wrote The 50th Law with 50 Cent. He wrote The Art of War. He wrote The Art of Seduction. And he wrote Mastery. Damn near living off of the 48 Laws of Power. Since like 1998, that book came out, and it's sold like I think about 12 million copies. So imagine putting yourself in that position where you're more heard about than seen. El Chapo, one of the biggest drug dealers to ever do it, he was more heard about than seen.
After eluding capture for more than a dozen years, how did authorities nab Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, the world's most ruthless drug lord? Focusing on 5 wiretaps, the DEA, U.S. Immigration, and Mexican officials tracked Guzman down to this hotel in Mazatlan, Mexico. Dubbed Public Enemy Number 1 by Chicago's Crime Commission, a title once held by Al Capone, indictments have been filed in 4 states against Guzman and his lieutenants. The U.S. Attorney General says the drug kingpin contributed to the death and destruction of millions of lives.
And that alone caused fear in many. He was a real drug dealer. So you want to have strong mind power, getting that to where you need to get. Now, I want to ask you a question somebody asked me recently, and that is, why is it school does not teach financial education? And I had to sit and think about that. And then the guy, Robert Kiyosaki, said, the reason they don't teach financial education is because if they did, you want to go to school and you want to get a job. Why do you think it was illegal for them to teach slaves how to read and write? Because knowledge is everything. The one that controls the knowledge controls the math. So look at life like this. When you go to the bank, they don't ask you for your report card. They don't ask you how good your grades were. They don't ask you no questions like that. What they want to know is your financial statement, aka your credit score. That is your real report card in life when you grow up.
Whenever you apply for a car loan, mortgage, or credit card, lenders use your credit score as a measure of how likely you are to pay back what you owe.
The credit score is going to determine what type of loans we have available, the down payment that you have to put down.
Increasingly, anyone you want to do business with, be it your landlord, insurance agent, the phone company, and even a possible employer may check your credit.
It'll make or break people on trying to build a business or buy a home or buy new equipment or anything.
If you're like the vast majority of Americans, you have no idea what your score is, how it's calculated, and what you can do to improve it. And yet, it is the single most common barometer of your worthiness as a borrower.
740 and above, you're pretty much good as gold.
What isn't going to happen is when you get 575 or below.
So what is this magical number? We asked and got some answers from Equifax, one of the 3 major credit reporting agencies. What does a credit score measure?
The credit score evaluates the information in your credit report, and that information in your credit report is grouped into 5 categories. The first category is your payment history, and that's worth 35%. The second category is the amounts you owe or your balances, and that's worth 30%. The third category is your length of credit history, and that's worth 15%. The fourth category is worth 10%, and that is new credit. And the final category is also worth 10%, and that is the types of credit that you have. Do you have only installment, or do you have only revolving, or do you have a combination of both installment and revolving credit?
People hear the word FICO score. What is that?
FICO is just one type of score that's available in the market. What consumers should be interested in is that the credit score is calculated from the information in their credit file.
FICO is Fair Isaac, which is the originator of credit scores going back all these years. They can also purchase an individualized score from the 3 credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. And when I say an individualized score, is you can get a score based solely on that credit bureau's one report. The Fair Isaac credit score will be based on an aggregate of information from all 3 credit reports. Fair Isaac is the standard that most lenders look at. All those other lenders will look just at a score or report from one bureau, or they may look at 2, and some will look at all 3 individually.
How often should a person check their credit score?
I always like to say do a quarterly checkup. So every 3 months, obtain the credit report, obtain your score, review it, because I know that the credit reporting agencies want to hear from you if something is not correct there, because we build our business on that data and we want our data to be correct.
And your main goal in life between the ages of 18 to 30 is to build a strong reputation on life. Example, when you look at the Italians and how they've built their name, their reputation, whether it's in the mafia, whether it's in food, whether it's in fashion, there's a reason why if anything is made in Italy, it goes for a lot of money. They want it like that, so that way their families and their kids could be good for the rest of their life. Sony, one of the dopest companies to ever do it, who created the Walkman, Sony main goal was to not just make themselves hot. They wanted to make Japan hot. So if Sony ever falls off, the fact that something was made from Japan would give it just enough value and they could start all over again. Why do you think companies like at the time, Red Monkeys, Evisos, Uniqlo, A-Babe the Nape, Casio, we go down the list of tons of things that came from Japan do very well. They almost start off running instead of crawling, walking, and then running. It's because Sony made sure Japan's reputation was good manufacturing and good product, good engineering on all aspects. That's why if something's made from Italy, it's made from Japan, we look at it differently if it's made from Mexico or made from Haiti. It's just a sad fact. It's just a real reality, though. So you want to build a strong reputation in order to survive out here, because reputation is everything. Why work hard for something that you'll never own? How is it that you could wake up every day and make somebody else rich and feel you can't do the same for yourself? I'm about to talk on a very nasty subject that is never politically correct, and it's called slavery. Because that what happens when you go to school is what happens after you get a job. You become a slave to the rich. The harder you work, the broker you get. A-grade students pay the highest taxes, and they work for the C and D students most of the time. If you don't believe me, live life or look it up. But there's only 2 types of people in this world. People that live from their own experiences, or people that see how others lived and said, I don't want to repeat that. You know, we're very fortunate enough to have, TV and the internet and YouTube to help school us in on past history, whether it's Mike Tyson, Allen Iverson, or how Windex got started, how Scott Tissue got started, or like how tampons got started, because people forget that the first women to ever use tampons all passed away from it because of the chemicals that wasn't right. They had to get that right. So we have a lot of examples on failures, and you'll be retarded not to look at those things and study those things so you don't repeat it. There's a lot you could gain from all these companies, all these brands, all these people, from the homeless to the rich. It all equals out. So, I don't want you to forget. I don't want you to forget that the difference between the rich and the poor is the rich know the value in their name and the poor know the value in their work. And when I say the rich know the value in their name, do you understand how Walt Disney works? Walt Disney, if they help you, they get a percentage off you for the rest of their life.
Dale, Jennifer, Justin, Carrie, JC, Brittany, Josh, Rona, TJ, Ilana, Ricky, Christina,
Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, amongst many others. Anything they do, even after they leave Walt Disney still gets a check from them. That's how they're able to maintain wealth, and Walt Disney is the highest media conglomerate in the world. Vince McMahon from WWE is the same thing. Stone Cold, Hulk Hogan, merchandise, video games, anything that goes on after he's dealt with you, he gets a percentage off you for the rest of his life. Or production credits, producer rights. Jimmy Iovine and Chris Lighty, it was like that with 50 Cent. You can look at the video games, to the movies, to anything. You'll see Chris Lighty, Jimmy Iovine, all on it. Speaking of Jimmy Iovine, if you want to survive in this business, in any business, especially if you're not Jewish, let's be clear, you need a Jewish person to go forward in life. Dr. Dre has Jimmy Iovine. Diddy had Clive Davis. Jay-Z had John Manilli and Leo Cohen. Russell Simmons had Rick Rubin. You need those powers to get by, because the reality of it is they control the feds, they control the banks, and you're not getting too far without them getting a cut in some way, shape, or form. So I want you to start thinking for yourself, and don't even necessarily go off what I tell you. Think for yourself fully. Touch it, feel it, fuck it, shit it, sleep with it. Have sex with it. You really don't know how you feel about something though until you sleep with it. That's true story. Whether sexual or business, you need to sleep on some things sometimes. Always remember that nobody's attracted to reality, only fantasy. Can you imagine if we lived in a world where, I'm talking about black girls, if they didn't wear their weave and didn't have their eyelashes on and didn't wear lipstick and make gloss in that false sense of reality? That's what we're attracted to as men. Now it's the same thing with women. A man puts up a front, he might buy his chains, he might buy a car, he might buy a house, whatever the case is, he's doing all that to attract a mate. But even in business, it's the same thing. Lamborghini is selling you a car ad, and then they have a pretty woman near it to say, if you get that car, you get that girl. So then every guy goes, damn, I got to get that car so I can get girls like that. And that's how they sell it to you. Even the concept of like Maybelline. Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline. Bitch, you can never be born this pretty. You need us to survive. You need us to give you your glamour, your look, your false sense of reality. Fantasy is more addicting than reality. And watch who's selling you a fantasy to get what they want out of you. Now, when it comes to business, a strong tool I've learned in life is to promote the category, not the brand. Like I said with Sony was focused on making Japan hot. Then that in return will make Sony hot. The strongest giants in business focus on the category. Nike, Apple. In the long run, a brand is nothing more than a name. A name that has to eventually be synonymous with trust. Quality doesn't matter. Designs, all that don't matter. But you want to build trust with strong principles and actions. That's what people pay attention to. You need to be synonymous with a word and a feeling in the mind. Chanel, when people buy Chanel, they're buying into a feeling. When you buy a Benz, you're buying more into a feeling. When you buy Payless, you're buying more into a feeling. When you make something, what feelings does it represent? Because McDonald's doesn't represent the same feelings as Benihana's. Benihana's is more of a go out thing. Champagne is like the perfect example of anytime somebody want to celebrate, they feel good. Yo, let's pop some bottles. So when you make a product or who you are as a person, you want to say, yo, what feelings, what moods do I want to cater to when I walk in certain rooms and deal with people? That's why people going to reach out to you depending on whether you're funny, whether you're always too serious, all those type of things. So you need to think about that, okay? Xerox is the definition of printing. BMW is the definition of great engineering. Nintendo is the definition of video games. A Purell is a definition of hand sanitizer. Something that even if somebody don't know about it, they know that much to know. Like your grandma might say, turn up the Nintendo, even though you're playing the Xbox. So you want to do your best to be the definition of that category. The easiest way to destroy a brand is to put your name on everything. I think like Rockefeller did that too much at one point. Outside of Armadale, but just everything was rock, 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 rock. Calm down. Everything can have its own identity. Example, most appearance of variety is an illusion. Luxottica owns all the stores, all the insurance companies, all the eyewear. It's all false competition. Or like Nestle. If people don't know this, like let's look at water companies with Nestle. Nestle owns Deer Park, Poland Spring Water, San Pellegrino, Nestle Pure Water, Ice Mountain Water, and Perrier Water. Now, you could admit that when you've drunk most of those waters, you drunk them at different times in your life, whether it was at a concert, the one is for your house, one is for you. But at the end of the day, right, water is water. So also, let's look at the ice cream category because people don't know that Nestle owns Haagen-Dazs and they also own Dreyer's ice cream. Who wants to buy anything without something to compare it to? So you need competition. Competition is very important. Pepsi was the greatest thing that happened to Coca-Cola, to tell you the truth. That's why both of them could exist and one not really hurt the other. Procter & Gamble is another big brand. They own Joy dishwashing liquid, and they also own Dawn dishwashing liquid. They own Tampax. They also own Always. They own Downy, but they also own Bounty fabric softener. So choices stimulate demand. The best thing to happen to Coca-Cola, once again, is Pepsi. So the best location for a Burger King franchise to be is across the street from a McDonald's, as crazy as it sounds. And if you notice, you always notice there's a Popeyes and there's a Checkers, and sometimes it's like all four in one location. But that's how business works. Being the first to get there means nothing. If that was the case, look at hip-hop. It has people taking care of Grandmaster Flash and DJ Kool Herc, or Atari. Atari is one of the foundations of American video games. Sony with the Walkman. Now, the iPad is the definition of a Walkman. You say Walkman now, kids be like, what's a Walkman? Which is crazy, but Kodak with digital cameras. Kodak was the pioneer cameras, but now, you could say to a large degree, Apple helped destroy that and Instagram. Netscape. Netscape is one of like the first internet servers. And AOL and Microsoft destroyed that. So being the first to get there doesn't mean much. It's about who does it better and who owns the word and the mind of the people. Try to be different from everyone if you can. You got like bloggers and like Elliot Wilson, who owns rapradar.com, to make his blog a little different from realtalkny.net or WorldStar. He's creating original content like The Crown.
Crown 5, man. We're in the basement of NYU somewhere, man, with Drizzy Drake, man. The Don, what's up, Drake?
Feel good, man.
I reached out to you, man, about doing this Crown thing, with live audience. Everybody's excited.
It's actually not true. I reached out to you about doing the Crown thing. Sometimes there is things that you have to say, and a lot of the times when I get interviewed, I don't get to say those things. I'm sure you have some controversial questions that I'm like 150%, like ready to answer tonight.
He's creating the truth with Jay-Z's Life and Times YouTube channel. He's finding other outlets to keep his brand afloat. Like Wendy's. One of the ways Wendy's separated themselves from the competition with Burger King and McDonald's is they created the drive-thru window. A lot of people don't know that. They was the first to do that. And then you see all of them jumped on it, right? They followed immediately because they say, that's a good idea. Airbnb. Airbnb is kind of destroying the hotel industry to a degree. It's like, why spend $300 to stay in a room when I could spend $100 a day to stay in somebody's house? And they're not there, and I still live at home. I feel like I live at home, and that's the goal for them. So Airbnb is destructive and destroying how we look at the hotel industry now. Just cheaper in general. Always think about that. Try to be different from everybody. If you can, find little niches that separate you from the rest. Always remember, the 3 strongest emotions in life is sex, humor, education, and hunger. If you could appeal to all four of those, you will be a powerful human being. Bottom line. So what I want you to leave with is this. I want you to do your best to think for yourself. You know, we live in a world where we're all programmed to some degree and we don't even realize it. Example, as a Christian, I want you to ask yourself, where did the concept of angels come from? And why do they say amen after a prayer? I want you to look that up. Lately, I've been asking most Christians that to see their response, and most of them don't know. Nothing wrong with that. I feel that you need to seek the knowledge, or else why are you trying to be that? But you don't know all those details. You need to know every detail about yourself and about that subject in and out, so you can help spread the message the way you would want to. So, you know, once again, that goes back down to thinking for yourself, and a lot of us don't. It's very hard for us to, because we're brought up to do good in school so you can do good in high school, and if you do good in high school, then you're going to get accepted to a good college. You get accepted to a good college, then you're going to get out and get a good job, and it's so unrealistic. I feel like Walt Disney sells young girls the wrong dream. You know, Walt Disney's telling young girls, you know, you're gonna have the nice house and the nice boyfriend. He's gonna be very pretty. He's never gonna beat you. He's never gonna cheat on you. He's never gonna lose his job and one day flip the fuck out and maybe commit suicide and kill you with him, like Chris Benoit or Alexandra McQueen, or people that just go through crazy dynamics. I feel like school and certain things, they don't really train us for the real world and just the shock value that the real world comes with. And I want you to like really say, yo, I want to see the world for what it is. Not saying that anything is right or wrong, just what it is. You know, one thing my mother told me one time, I'm not saying my mother's right, but one thing she told me one time, there's a reason why women don't rule the world. And that's because they live in their shoes instead of just what is. What is, just period. And accept it for what it is or keep it moving. But you're going to have to put up with some shit. Know the difference between what you feel versus what's real. Period. Because the reality of this earth is it's fucked up. And everybody's not going to have a happy ending. You hope you do. But, you know, you can't tell me karma is 100% real when Martin Luther King got a bullet to his head. And Aaliyah died in a plane crash. And I got a friend whose mother has cancer right now. Very good woman. Great married woman. But for some reason she has cancer. It makes no sense to me. Because, you know, you brought up like, oh, yeah, karma this, karma that, and all this crazy shit that's just unrealistic. So the change I want to see is for people to stand up for themselves. Look at themselves. If you believe in what you believe in, you should be willing to die for it. You should be willing to ride for it. You should know your subject matter in and out. You should know what you want to mean to people, what you want to mean to culture. I want people to just be more honorable. Take care of your brother. Take care of your sister. Take care. Look, life is like this. It's like Spider-Man. Spider-Man became Spider-Man because he saw a criminal commit a crime and he didn't stop him.
Stay back!
Uncle! What happened?
Carjacker, he's been shot. Look, we just called the paramedics. They're on their way. Hey, stay back.
Uncle Ben? Uncle Ben? Uncle Ben?
Here.
Over here, Uncle Ben.
Here.
That criminal later in life killed his Uncle Ben. And that's what inspired him to be a superhero. That happens every day in life where we see things in the wrong and we don't confront it. We don't question it. We don't. If you're going to buy Nike, cool. But what's Nike doing for you? What's Nike doing for your people? If you're going to buy tequila, cool. But what's that tequila doing for you and your people? Stop investing in things and getting nothing back from it. Treat everything the same. Don't nitpick. That's the change I want to see. I dealt with a lot of wins and losses in my life. My first girlfriend left me for some dude that provided more security for her at the time, so I'm not mad at it. He was a construction worker, and I was interning for XXL, working for free, sleeping in the subway. What the fuck do I have to offer? But that was a major loss for me at one time in my life, you know. I lost my my grandmother focusing on this entertainment bullshit when it really means nothing at the end of the day. You know, real love comes from those type of people like your grandma, your mom, people that don't care about that. They're going to love you regardless. So make sure you give energy and time to them because they matter most. Don't get lost in the sauce with your career. Do your career, but value friends and family and the people that are riding with you no matter where you're at in life. You could be a fucking prostitute. You could say, yo, I'm going to change my sex tomorrow, and they still love you. I lost my grandmother, man. I really wish I valued her more while she was alive. I lost my house. When I lost my house, man, that hurt me the most. I never forget, 'cause I saw my mother crying, man, and nothing hurts you more when you see your mom crying, because she took that risk of believing in me when I said, don't worry, Mom, I'm going to go pursue my career and it's going to work out. And I quit my job at BBC to get a job, to get a pilot with MTV that didn't work out. And when they cut you off, they don't even like really send you an email saying they're going to cut you off. They just cut you off. You don't know. You don't get no pink slip or nothing. They just go, yeah, you know, we're not dealing with it. You call them, all of a sudden you can't walk in that building no more. It's fucking pussy shit, man. So but that's the risk I took to become a businessman. Where I'm at right now, to be realistic, is I'm recovering. I'm recovering from debt. I'm recovering from just a lot of shit. But that's a part of business. But you know, when you're young and you're 18 to 30, take advantage of this time and learn and don't be afraid to fail. You want to fail, because the only way you learn is through failing. You're going to fail your way to success. Your 30s is going to make up for the failures for the most part. For most of us, not all of us, but for most of us. So embrace wins and losses all together. Understand that it's part of life. Do your best to not let the bullshit knock you off your grind. At a time when I was fucked up and destroyed and wanting to kill myself at one point, people like Jameson, who has helped out with this audiobook tremendously. This is a collaboration between me and Jameson. He was the one that gave me that hope and that inspiration. Say, yo, dog, you could do it. He even did my resume at one point, and shipped it out to people, networked me with other people. And he's the reason, to be truthful, why you guys are getting this free audiobook, because he's here on his free time and dime helping edit and make this shit happen. And it's good to have people that believe in you and that make you, stop doubting yourself. Very lucky to have somebody like Jameson Bennett on the scene, on the team, from Kentucky to the Big Apple, from the Big Apple to the Pineapple, you know what I'm saying? No, he don't sweat these hoes, he let these hoes, and if he don't treat them, he gonna let the welfare beat him, you dig what I'm saying? Shout out to Jameson Bennett, the biggest boss since Ricky Ross. On that note, I just want you guys to really make shit happen out here. No excuses. Let's not forget the shoulders we stand on, from Harriet Tubman to Rosa Parks. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget Ted Turner, who helped create 24-hour CNN, pioneered the game. Let's not forget New Era Caps, who helped create hats so we could cover our fucking heads when we felt like our shit is nappy and bald heads. Let's thank Procter & Gamble for Tampax, because Tampax is the reason you girls with your bloody ass coochies could stay focused and get that shit clean right. I'm joking, but let's stay focused, people, and let's turn our dreams into a reality and that reality into a salary. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You guys stay the best and above the rest, because the rest equal more than less. I must confess, around the whole Midwest there's no contest. I am the one, that means none before and none to come. Great Scott, King Dingling, the lady killer, coochie thriller, Papa Ho Dilla, and it gets no realer. Peace and think. Think deep. Look closer. Papa Molly. Woo!
All right, boys, prepare to be dazzled.
From the earliest writings of man, we know that the human race has been comprised of the haves and the have-nots. When I was a kid back during the Great Depression, I was obsessed with a desire to know what invisible something separated the haves from the have-nots, being a have-not. I wanted to know why so few managed to be well off financially in a country where success is available to everyone. For example, in checking the Statistical Abstract of the United States, published by the Bureau of the Census, I discovered, just lately, that only 10% of the men in this country, 65 years of age and older, have incomes of $6,000 or more a year. More than 80% of all men 65 or older have incomes under $4,000 a year. Only 7.6% have incomes between $7,000 and $10,000 a year, and only 3.7% have incomes of $10,000 a year or more. A man starts his working career in his 20s, often earlier. He's fortunate in that he lives in the free world. He has better than 40 years to make the grade financially in the richest country on earth. Yet, according to the statistics, only about 10 out of 100 will be financially secure by the time 65 rolls around, and only about 4 men out of 100 will be financially comfortable. Now, why? Well, let me tell you how to find out for yourself. Conduct your own survey. Start down the street in your neighborhood on any Saturday or Sunday and ask the man of every house 2 questions. The first question is, what are you doing at the present time to increase your income now? That is, how much do you want to earn? And when you've evaluated the blank stare you get in response to that question, ask question number 2, which goes, how much money are you planning to be worth at age 65? Now, when the silence becomes too unnerving, thank him and move on to the next house. Ask 50 men, 100, 1,000, until you're completely convinced that the reason men don't make more money during their working lives, and the reason men aren't financially independent by the time they're 65, is simply that they seldom, if ever, do any constructive thinking on either subject. It's that simple, unfortunately. The reason it's so easy to earn far more money than the average man earns in this country is that so very few, are going about it the right way. This is a race without enough contestants to bother about. The few who are really in the race can all be winners. Some will finish ahead of the others, but even the man who finishes last in this race will be financially secure. Most people, more than 90%, aren't even in the race. To prove it, ask yourself the 2 survey questions. Up until the time you started listening to this message, what were your plans for increasing your income? How much do you want to earn? And how much money had you decided to be worth by the time you're 65? You see, people who earn large incomes aren't lucky, and they're not crooks as those without money are so fond of pretending, nor are they endowed with more brains or talent necessarily than their friends and neighbors, nor are they privy to occult secrets, and only a very few were lucky enough to have had rich fathers or grandfathers. Most of the people earning the big incomes today started the same way you and I did, and most other people. The only difference between the men who earn big incomes and those who earn small incomes is that those earning big incomes decided to earn more. They're the people who made it their business to earn more. You see, a woman who does not think about baking an apple pie for dinner tonight will never think of looking up the recipe for apple pie. Without the decision for pie, there's no motivation for checking out the recipe. A man who does not think about driving his car to St. Louis, Missouri or Nacogdoches, Texas will never get road maps which show how to get to St. Louis or Nacogdoches. And a man who never decides to earn more money will never think of learning how, of looking up the rules for earning more money. You see, people do what they make up their minds to do. So get rid of the ancient superstition once and for all that people who earn big money are special people, or lucky, or get the breaks, or had money to begin with, or knew someone, or are smarter, or anything else. These are alibis. They can all be disproved 1,000 times. The reason there are so many of these alibis around is that men who fail to make the grade financially are seldom honest enough to just admit that they really didn't try and keep trying. So in order to justify their failure, in order to remain seated, they dream up and pass along these old alibis. We're all self-made, but only the successful will admit it. I once had occasion to visit Charleston, South Carolina. I'd never been there before, so I hired a taxi to drive me around the historic old town. I particularly wanted to see the battery where that famous shot was fired on Fort Sumter. Along this beautiful drive, some of Charleston's oldest and finest homes look out over the bay. I commented to my cab driver on what lovely homes they were, and he said, yes, some of those homes have 40 rooms. And then he thought a moment and he said, and every one of them is owned by a crook. This is how the have-nots justify themselves and their lot in life. I didn't say anything because I didn't feel I was entitled to advise him or try to straighten out his thinking. This is a free country where as long as he doesn't hurt others, everyone has the unalienable right to be just as wrong as he wants to be. As Thomas R. Lounsbury, the American scholar and educator, put it, we must view with profound respect the infinite capacity of the human mind to resist the inroads of useful knowledge. My taxi driver and men and women like him all over the world have been kidding themselves and holding themselves down and refusing the bounty and abundance of the world for centuries. Knowledge is available to everyone. We can either listen to those qualified to teach us, or we can go along with those ancient stumbling blocks we get from people who don't know any more than we do. The truth, incidentally, about those homes along that beautiful drive is that they were built by the men and women who made the largest contribution to the city of Charleston. In just a moment, I'm going to give you the formula for getting rich, but before I do, I want to remind you of something. Before a jet pilot begins his takeoff from an airport, he carefully goes over a checklist, item by item. He does this not only because it's required by law, but because he cannot afford to trust so important a job to his memory alone. He has another checklist that he goes over just as carefully before he begins his letdown at his destination. He does this without fail every time he takes off and every time he lands. Well, I think living successfully is as important as flying an airplane. And because of this, I think each of us needs a checklist too. And that's why there's one included with this cassette. We need a checklist to go over item by item before we take off in the morning and before we drop off to sleep every night. So I want to recommend that you affix the checklist to your bathroom mirror. Stare at it as you brush your teeth in the morning and stare at it again as you prepare for bed at night. Go over each item, and as you do, think of what each item represents. Now here's number one. It's the formula for getting rich. It also explains why you're in your present position, whether you're earning $6,000 a year or $16,000 or $60,000 or $600,000. It applies to every adult, whether he's employed or unemployed. It applies to the richest man and to the poorest, and every person in between. And here it is. Our rewards in life will always be in exact proportion to our contribution, our service. Now that's what the formula means as the first item on your checklist. Memorize it. Our rewards in life will always be in exact proportion to our contribution, our service. Listen to it, think about it until you know it emotionally as well as intellectually. It might give you some slight feeling of superiority to realize that there's probably not another man within a mile of where you live who knows it. You can add it as a question on your survey if you want proof of that. If you want it in another form, here it is as it applies to a man's job. It's the same thing really, the same thing applies, but you can express it differently. The money you're paid by the company you work for will always be in direct ratio to the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the degree of difficulty involved in replacing you. Maybe you want to write the formula down in both of its forms and think about it until it's as much a part of you as your name. The reason it isn't spelled out on your checklist is because you might not want everyone to know what you're up to. The checklist is valuable only to a person who knows what the words really indicate. All right, you've got the formula. As you think about it, its meaning will become clearer to you. With the formula, there are two rules which must be applied to properly use it. This formula, together with the two rules, is your recipe or your roadmap to earning all the money you really want. Now let's take a look at item number 2 on your checklist. And I'm serious about your putting this checklist on your mirror. You'll notice it's pressure sensitive. Item number 2, the gold mine. The Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright Archibald MacLeish in his play The Secret of Freedom wrote, "The only thing about a man that is a man is his mind. Everything else you can find in a pig or a horse." Strong words, aren't they? But as long as you live, you'll never hear a truer statement. The key to every human being's success lies in his mind, the gold mine between his ears. One idea can make you rich. A lot of good ideas can move you steadily upward in the work you do, and ideas are free. Now just think, there's nothing now being done commercially that will not be done better, much better in the years ahead. Next year's homes and most of what's in them will be better than this year's. Next year's cars will be better. Next year's manufacturing, distributing, marketing, and selling and advertising should be better. Nothing is now being done as well as it must be done in the future, and every innovation, every new improvement will be somebody's brainchild. Now what's your specialty? How many good ideas have you come up with during the past year? If you continue on as you have in the past, where will you be and what will you be earning, say, a year from now, 5 years from now? Every day of our lives, we walk or drive by more opportunity than we could develop in a lifetime, in 50 lifetimes. Back in the 20s, Sinclair Lewis wrote that you can kidnap a man, blindfold him, take him to any city in the country with a couple of notable exceptions, put him in a chair in the downtown area, take off his blindfold, and he could sit there a week and not be able to tell you what town he's in. The streets are all alike. The buildings are all alike. The businesses all look alike. This is still largely true today. The reason for this being that most businessmen in this country are playing a game called follow the follower. If a man goes into business, no matter what line it happens to be, the first thing he does is make certain that his place of business, outside and inside, looks exactly like every other place of business of that type in the country. Do you know why? It's because he's been playing copycat since he was a year old and does it without thinking about it. For the same reason kids dress alike in school. He wants to be one of the gang. He doesn't necessarily examine all the business establishments in his field and pattern his on the one outstanding example, the one that inspires him, the one that he can really believe in. He just does what everybody else in his business is doing, and by this simple process, he guarantees his own mediocrity. Whose drum are you marching to, if indeed you're marching to anyone's, and why? Remember, whatever you now do for a living will be done differently, quite differently a few years from now. Never in the history of mankind have the opportunities for all of us been so great. But the great majority of people will be the beneficiaries of progress, not those who bring it about. Which group are you going to belong to? If you want to be a contributor, not just a beneficiary, here's the first rule. It appears on your checklist as the gold mine. So, think. Think deliberately and with a purpose. Use the gold mine between your ears. Begin by thinking at a special time every day. Back during the Depression, a New York lumber dealer was growing rich while other lumber dealers were going broke. When asked how he did it, he said, "Every evening when I get home, I close myself up in a quiet room, sit in a comfortable chair, and ask myself, how will my business be conducted 10 years from now? Then I try to do it now." Instead of competing with every other lumber dealer, which is what they were doing, he was creating. He was doing the very thing man was designed to do, the very thing man does best. A company growing at the rate of 10% a year will double its size in less than 8 years. But a man can improve his effectiveness 50% or 100% a year or more. The experts tell us that every one of us has within him deep reservoirs of ability, even genius, that he habitually fails to use. Well, let's begin now to reach into these deep, rich areas of pure net profit and use more of our real abilities. Let's think. Here's the best way I've found to make yourself think. Start getting up a little earlier than you're accustomed to. Right off the bat, this gives you extra time that 95% of the men in this country are not using at all. 1 hour earlier a day gives you 6.5 extra 40-hour weeks a year. But at this time in the morning, take a refreshing shower, dress, get yourself a fresh, hot cup of coffee if you're a coffee man, and then sit down to a clean sheet of paper. At the top of the paper, write your financial goal. Now, this is the amount of money per year you intend to earn soon. Incidentally, you might like to keep this to yourself, too. It's nobody's business but yours. Then, start to think. Think about your goal and what it'll mean to you and your family. Then see how many ideas you can come up with to help you reach that goal. Ideas to improve what you now do for a living. Ways of increasing your contribution to match your income goal. You know, jobs don't have futures. People do. No matter what line of work you may be in, there is within it more than enough opportunity to last a lifetime. You don't have to think of brand new ideas or revolutionary new ways of doing things, although you well might come up with some. Think of ways of improving what is now being done. If you're to increase your income by the amount you've specified, you must find ways of increasing your contribution, your service. And the key to this is to be found in your mind, in that gold mine between your ears. Try for 5 ideas every morning and write them down, and save those sheets of paper in a special idea file. Many, perhaps most of your ideas will be worthless, but some of them will be very good. A few will be excellent, and every once in a while you will come up with something really outstanding. You see, 5 ideas a day is 25 a week if you don't think on weekends. Now that's more than 1,000 ideas a year. One idea can get you to that income you're shooting for. The law of averages swings so far in your favor you just can't miss. Try to develop a sense of expectancy. That is, try to hold the feeling that the goal you're shooting for is a sure thing, and that it's only a matter of time before it's realized. You know, Henry Ford didn't start making cars until he was 45. A friend of mine started a new company at 65. He's still going strong, and his new company has sales of better than $300 million a year. It's almost never too late. Try not to think of things outside of your own line of work or whatever it is you're most interested in. To think well and profitably, you must discipline your thinking. Keep it on course, controlled, keep it in one field, specialize. Now for the final item on your checklist. It appears as the word. And the word is attitude. Attitude has been called the most important word in the language. William James put it this way. He said, "The greatest discovery of my generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind." Now this is something to think about. Can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. It's another way of saying we become what we think about. Look at it this way. Your total environment, if you've been an adult for any appreciable period of time, your total environment is a reflection of you as a person. The house and the neighborhood in which you live, the car you drive, the clothes you wear, the job you do, the people with whom you regularly associate. Your total environment is an exact and merciless mirror of you as a human being. Now, if you feel your environment can stand some improvement, you have only to improve your attitude, and your world will gradually change to reflect the changing person. Here's how to change your attitude. Beginning now, begin to act as would the person you most want to become. Now that is, if you were already in possession of the goal you're shooting for, how would you conduct yourself in all of your affairs? Well, do it now, and tomorrow, and the next day. Begin now to act the part of the person you most want to become, and you'll end by becoming that person. Subtly, in little ways, in the way you dress, in the way you talk, in the unfailing courtesy you show to every person with whom you come in contact, begin to act the part of the person who has already achieved that which you're shooting for. The German philosopher Goethe gave us the secret when he said, before you can do something, you must first be something. When you behave like the person you most want to become, the things that person would have will tend to come to you. It's simply cause and effect. Don't be in too big a hurry. It takes longer to build a skyscraper than a chicken coop. Build slowly, steadily, and well. Then when you make it, you'll keep it. You'll stay on top. Always be suspicious of the so-called get-rich-quick scheme or sudden success. Never forget that word, attitude. It's your attitude toward the people with whom you come in contact that will determine their attitudes toward you. The person with the great attitude toward life and the world is the person other people call lucky. He's not lucky. He's just using our old friend cause and effect. His causes are excellent, and his effects have to be just as good. Well, that's it. 3 things to remember. 3 things to practice every day. If you spent 16 hours a day, 7 days a week practicing your golf swing, in a relatively short time you'd have a grooved, beautiful swing like the pros. So practice your new attitude every day, every waking hour. Practice thinking a few minutes every morning, and you'll find yourself thinking all day long. And remember the formula. Our rewards in life will always be in exact proportion to our contribution, our service. Go over the ideas in this message every day until they're as much a part of you as your name and your temporary address. You'll notice that each time you listen, you'll hear something new. You'll get a new idea you failed to get before. This is Earl Nightingale, and thank you.